Well, I didn't expect to make this video this quickly. We're here today to rank all of the 15th Doctor's TV stories. I assume you all know the deal by now, this is all opinion based, and I welcome differing opinions in the comments. Let's start with the very worst. At the bottom of the barrel we have... Number 16. The Legend of Ruby Sunday and Empire of Death. Whilst this finale starts off fairly good with its first episode, the second part Empire of Death actively goes out of its way to undo all the mysteries and cliffhangers established in part 1. The episode badly misuses classic Who villain Sutekh. The idea that he's been clinging to the TARDIS for thousands of years unseen and unknown for all the disasters and destruction of the TARDIS in various episodes is just too stupid to take seriously. He's just been biding his time for this time before revealing his dastardly plot. How did he live through the Time War, or the destruction of the TARDIS in stories like Frontios or the Pandorica Opens? And this supposedly all-powerful god of death can be thwarted by the mystery of who Ruby's mother is? All the wonders of creation, and that is what gives Sutekh pause? It's impossible to take seriously. Sutekh kills everything using magic dust, and the way to overcome this is killing death, which equals life? Huh? Of all the magical reset solutions in all of RTD finales, this has to be the worst. And was it supposed to be funny to see Sutekh dragged around on a lead as if it's a leash? Yeah, I get that the dog design looks cool, but you don't have to make it literally. Ruby's introduction made it clear that her mum was a big mystery for her, and initially it all felt normal enough. But over the course of the season, and with the snow and the song inside it, and the lack of next of kin, basically the entire time window sequence, it felt like her mum's identity was going to be a huge and worthy of a reveal. But the reveal that Ruby's mum is a very normal by-the-books woman is just underwhelming. Not because she's boring or unimportant, but because so much was set up for her to be someone. In the time window she was seen as a shadow, almost like she was flickering in and out of existence, and that wasn't explained. Sutekh couldn't figure out who she was, but he could have done so pretty easily given his powers and her identity being no real secret to anyone on his level. That wasn't explained either. If the mystery hadn't been built on throughout the series, I'd have been fine with it, because in isolation, that scene where Ruby reunites with her mother is quite good, and it's probably comforting for people who are in similar positions to her. Aside from that, Empire of Death will stand as Russell T Davies' inability to let go of the past. Hope this doesn't happen again, right? Right? Number 15. Wishworld and the Reality War. This finale pretty much has the same problems as the previous story on this list, but I put this a tad higher because there are moments I do like. The idea of creating a happy-go-lucky artificial world from the mind of a raging conspiracy theorist is a neat concept, and using the Doctor's doubt to unlock a Time Lord god Omega is a nice concept that I could get behind. And using the Time Hotel that was previously established in Joy to the World I don't mind being used to resolve the cliffhanger. The idea of the Doctor giving away his life force, causing him to regenerate so one child can live, is a pretty cool way for a Doctor to go out. Now we've got all the positives out of the way. These two finales summarise the problems with the RTD2 era, the inability to let go of the past and look forward to the future. Omega's return, and I use that in quotation marks, was a joke, like an actual joke. The Doctor blasting a giant CGI skeleton Jabba the Hutt with the power of a billion supernovas and yelling "Go back to hell" at the top of his lungs is such a stupid image. The original Omega was a man in a costume, yes, but there was personality and tragedy to the character in that Omega, was only being kept alive because of his will. Now we get this thing. As I mentioned earlier, the Doctor regenerating to save one innocent life was amazing. It's a really nice idea. However, it wasn't done as effectively as it could have been. We're constantly told how special Poppy is, and Belinda goes bonkers wanting to save her, and I just wish we could have had more build-up so we, the audience, care about this character as well. This is slightly better than Empire of Death, as I felt there were better ideas, but both of these finales are indicative of the fact Doctor Who needs serious fresh blood and new writers for the series to go forward. Number 14. Space Babies. This episode has a lot of good ideas and a coherent story, but it doesn't land with the impact that a season opener needs. It's in an odd position because it's both the first episode of the season and a direct follow-up to the Christmas episode The Church on Ruby Road. If it's an opening episode, then the first 10 minutes do a good job of introducing the audience to the world of Doctor Who, but if it's the second episode of the season, then it's not relying sufficiently on audience knowledge from the previous episode. The plot here is nothing really new. It's another stranded spaceship storyline, and it's kind of a base under siege, so it's the most basic Who story imaginable. The twist, of course, is that the spaceship's crew is made up of babies, and so rather appropriately, the whole episode feels like a children's programme, with poor childish humour as well. As far as things I liked, I have to say I thought the reveal on the origins of the Bogeyman was quite clever, a monster that is specially designed to teach children that fear is a cool idea. I appreciated the ways in which the episode highlighted the Doctor's ideology of acceptance towards even the most seemingly horrid creatures. In his dialogue with Poppy and his push-the-button moment is really effective too. Ncuti's performance is very charismatic and the cinematography is also quite nice, but none of this can make up for a pretty shoddy screenplay that really fails to hook me in or create any great expectations. The new Earth of the RTD2 era, if you ask me. Number 13. The Interstellar Song Contest. There are moments of greatness scattered throughout this episode, but it's also deeply flawed. The story incorporates a plot thread centered on the result of a profit-motivated and racist speciesist oppression, colonialism and genocide, but it deals with it in a very thin and black and white way. The Doctor torturing a genocide survivor when he himself is last of the Time Lords just feels horribly out of character. I don't mind when the Doctor's darker side is on display here, but you can't have him act deeply out of character and not be called out on it or suffer any consequences. There's no room to interrogate the Doctor's feelings about his own actions. Belinda's reactions to the Doctor don't align across the climax, and we don't have the space to understand why the Doctor isn't fully engaging with the real problem, and we don't get a proper conclusion to winning kids' stories. It's unclear how much of this is Juno Dawson's choice or the production team's requirement. Visually, the episode is stunning, but that's become expected in these Disney Plus era. We get everything that the title promises: an arena in deep space, a huge crowd of beings from multiple worlds, a detailed production booth, strange music videos and lots of colour, but on the way something has clearly gone wrong here and it needed more time to properly develop its themes. Number 12. Joy to the World. Yep, it exists. Number 11. 73 Yards. You may be surprised to see this episode this low, and while I don't dislike the episode, I'm not really swept up in the hype the episode had when it came out. Making this an unexpected Doctor Light episode did add some suspense, and it continues the very welcome tone shift to something darker and more serious after the unrestrained wackiness of the premiere. But once Ruby returns to London, the hook was kinda broken, at least for me. Does anyone else wish the entire story had taken place in that pub on the dark night? I mean, don't get me wrong, I do like the fake out regarding the ghost story about the mysterious woman, but it felt like we were just getting to know these local characters more when we abruptly move on. However, I do like Ruby in this episode, and this is Millie Gibson's finest hour as the character. She has an underlying fear of abandonment due to her orphanage, and it's a great concept where everyone in her life abandons her willingly. The ending focused on the politician really didn't feel like it was enough. Ruby finds out about him and very quickly deals with him. We don't get much of an idea of who he was other than that he liked launching nuclear missiles. Ruby using the woman to make him resign also felt inconsistent with the way other people reacted. Everyone else began to hate Ruby and cut her out of her life, but when it happens to the politician, it makes him resign from his position. This did not feel like a satisfying conclusion to a plotline that barely got started. There's a great premise here, but if you want to see this episode done better, then I would recommend The Curse of Clyde Langer from the Sarah Jane Adventures. Not awful, but nothing amazing either. Sorry if you like this episode a lot, please don't crucify me in the comments. Number 10. The Robot Revolution. This episode falls into the category of many RTD season openers where the premise is simple enough but entertaining enough to keep you engaged. It's an emphatic start to a season, being bright, loud and colourful. The production design strays well into camp at times with lots of retro-futuristic designs, and I think it all comes together very well, towing the line perfectly between ambition and achievability. I really enjoyed how the city of Miss Belinda Chandraville looked, and I really wish we could have seen more of it outside of what the episode showed. Belinda's character was one I enjoyed, and making the Doctor-companion relationship far more temperamental was a really good idea. What this episode really could have used is simply a longer running time. I remember saying this about quite a few of the new Disney era of Doctor Who, but a simple more 10 minutes would have really helped this story breathe as well. The biggest detractor of the whole episode is the main antagonist, the AI generator. Developing the character of Alan beforehand is something the episode definitely lacked in making the audience feel anything on who the reveal is and how they die. The same applies to the other characters as well. To apply so much emotional weight to some characters we barely see before they die is slightly baffling to me. But with an excellent production design and a fast-paced feel to the episode, The Robot Revolution is a good season opener, but nothing amazing. Number 9. The Church on Ruby Road. This is a sweet slice of festive cheer to watch on Christmas Day. Ncuti Gatwa's potential as an actor and as a doctor is clear to see here. He is charming and funny, yet incredibly subtle in his more emotional scenes. His acting chops are really stretched when Ruby is erased from time and when the parallels to his own childhood trauma are visible. Ncuti steals the scene in every moment he's in and plays off his companion Ruby Sunday very well. They have instant chemistry with each other, and Ruby acts as a mirror to the Doctor's own traumatic roots. The episode has a great whimsical feel to it, with elements of A Christmas Carol and It's a Wonderful Life thrown in for good measure. A good Christmas episode that shows the promise of this new era. Number 8. The Devil's Chord. I am glad this story continued the tradition of celebrity historicals by having the Doctor meet the Beatles, but sadly their presence is a disappointment for me. Not only is the band's music missing, but their appearance leaves a lot to be desired. George and Ringo are entirely ignored, while John and Paul's characters are so vaguely defined that they could be replaced by any other musician or band, and I don't think much would change. Does this mean this episode is a big wasted opportunity that will prevent us from ever seeing an earnest portrayal of the Beatles in Doctor Who? Possibly, but when you get past that, judging the episode for what it isn't, you can get to actually appreciating it for what the Devil's Chord is trying to do. The writing is not particularly complex or intelligent, but it doesn't need to be. This is an episode that is solely focused on providing fun, and it does so in a very over-the-top way. The episode would be nothing without the fantastic cinematography, direction, costume and set design, and very imaginative visual effects. All of it comes together in perfect harmony to create a vibrant and chaotic world, where music is everything, and it reaches an unavoidable crescendo in the final musical number, which is very well directed, and it really kind of makes the whole episode. The villain, Maestro, being the Toymaker's daughter, is a great one, and Jinx Monsoon, who plays them, follows in the footsteps of Neil Patrick Harris by delivering a performance that is similarly exaggerated and theatrical to great effect. Maestro feels threatening as the music-less dystopia that they create manages to be a lot more disturbing than the Giggles' violent dystopia at the same time. Maestro is also quirky and silly, and their strange and dreamlike presence succeeds in making them feel like a higher dimensional entity that embodies the concept of music. Most importantly, the way in which Maestro is defeated is fittingly crazy and outlandish, as the Doctor and Ruby engage in a musical battle against them, trying to find the magical chord that will banish them. It's fun, it adheres to the theme of the character in the episode, and it operates on a logic of incomprehensible magic, which is quite fitting for the gods of the now established pantheon. This episode highlights the importance of music in our lives, and is a fun time to watch, even if its selling point was kind of ignored. Number 7. Lucky Day. Lucky Day does have strong concepts, visuals and performances, as well as some memorable dialogue. It delivers its story at a breakneck pace that is a little too fast in places, covering setup scenes in 2007 and 2024, as well as weeks of in-universe time in 2025. Crucially, it does take time to focus on Ruby Sunday, Kate Stewart and Conrad Clark's emotional states, so the payoff does work, with writer Pete McTighe and director Peter Hoare ensuring there's space for expressive show-don't-tell performances, as well as good lines here. Millie Gibson is the star of the episode, with the story being to give us insight into a companion's experience between leaving the TARDIS and coming into their own again. Ruby witnessed some unimaginable horrors and is suffering from PTSD, which is not an easy thing to portray in a family-friendly show. Millie Gibson rises to the challenge, giving her most nuanced and grounded performance yet, helped by the aforementioned space in the script for expression and reaction. She portrays anxiety, fear, shock, sadness, anger and strength throughout the episode, and it all comes to justify her actions at the end. This episode is a very human drama that is light on special effects and shot in a grounded, almost ordinary way. Director Peter Hoare seems very much at home with this style of production, keeping the camera at the actor's eye level almost the whole episode, except when things get scary and providing room for emotions, which are the real story. The Shriek is a really nice design with great choreography, but it's good that it's kept to the shadows for a lot of the runtime. An episode that I do enjoy, and has convinced me that I wouldn't mind Pete McTighe being the next showrunner, and is a nice precursor to the upcoming spin-off The War Between Land and Sea. Number 6. Dot and Bubble. A Doctor Light episode where the main focus is a spoiled rich girl who can't walk without her own bubble and doesn't redeem herself by the end? You'd think that would be recipe for disaster, but Dot and Bubble pulls off its premise very well. What I found most interesting and commendable about the episode is its structure. Doctor Who usually follows the point of view of an outsider looking in, as the Doctor arrives in a new world, starts exploring and meets its inhabitants. And to contrast that, this story is told from the point of view of an inhabitant of the Fine Time world, Lindy, while the Doctor and Ruby take on the roles of supporting characters, guiding her along her mission. In the context of this season, it's a bit underwhelming since we're only going to get 8 episodes and we've already had a Doctor Light episode come before this, so we're pretty desperate for our 2 leads to get some good development, but in the context of this episode, this structure does work pretty well. Plunging the audience headfirst into the world of Fine Time not only creates intrigue, but it also helps the viewers understand Lindy's sheltered and egocentric worldview as they become trapped alongside her in the confines of her mind-numbing daily routine. Most importantly, having Lindy be almost completely cut off from the Doctor does provide a constant air of doubt and unease, as the viewer is unsure of whether or not they should sympathise with her. On the one hand, she's portrayed as helpless and in severe danger, but on the other hand, the scummy and unlikable bits of her character keep showing through. The tension is resolved in the episode's really tragic end, where Lindy's true colours are revealed, as she is both a remorseless murderer and an unabashed racist. This might go down as one of the most grim endings in all of Doctor Who. Lindy and all the other Fine Time citizens are certainly deserving of pity for being such a bunch of brainwashed, spoilt kids whose indoctrination by a racist system and lack of knowledge of the real world will lead to certain death. But what's even more heart-wrenching is the Doctor's fate, to be tormented by the guilt of being unable to save these people, despite his willingness to go through any suffering to do so. He could care less about being degraded and victimised because helping people and saving them is all he lives for, but here he is stopped from fulfilling the one purpose he has. In contrast to the rest of the episode, the ending is quiet and not too overt in its message, but Ncuti Gatwa's acting as someone that finds himself truly helpless due to something he can't control is all that is really needed for the scene to be as impactful as it is. We all knew that eventually the first Black Doctor would have to star in a story about racism, and I think RTD's decision to have it take place in a futuristic sci-fi setting and to display racism as an unstoppable force that abruptly prevents the story from having a happy ending makes for a true gut punch. Definitely one of the stronger 15th Doctor stories if you ask me. Number 5. Rogue. I think the main aspect of this episode that will lead a viewer to enjoy it is if you like Doctor Romance plots and references to Bridgerton. That sounds superficial on paper, however, it did affect my enjoyment and I can see it affecting other people whether or not they'll enjoy it. It is essentially Doctor Who does the Torchwood episode Captain Jack Harkness, but also has a similar feel to The Girl in the Fireplace due to Rogue being a one-off romantic partner like Madame de Pompadour, with the episode also being set in a period setting. The guest casts are excellent, whether they're giving Bridgerton or the villains of the story, and special praise goes to Jonathan Groff for a performance with a wealth of subtle moments. The chemistry between the Doctor and Rogue builds nicely and relies on one of the themes of the season, that this Doctor is more in touch with his emotions than, say, the 13th Doctor, who repressed her romantic feelings for Yaz and prevented herself from really feeling the losses and departures of those she experienced, or even the 14th Doctor, who was starting to let his emotional side show but still had trouble with it. He's able to feel his joys deeply, is the 15th Doctor. He sees potential for friendship and love, and is able to cry and emote, something that younger viewers will benefit from seeing, that it's okay to express your emotions. There's a moment in this episode where he looks to be falling back into the old habits of bottling up, but his best friend Ruby is there to help. For being the first story since The Haunting of Villa Diodati to be written by someone who isn't a current or ex-showrunner, Rogue will stand as one of my favourites from Series 14, and definitely a unique historical in that regard too. Number 4. Looks. Being a huge fan of the golden age of animation from the 1930s to the 50s makes this episode a special one in my book. This episode really goes all out on its mascot horror concept, but still makes it unmistakably Doctor Who. The trippy stuff in the middle is pretty fun, the pacing is spot on, it starts slow and it builds the tension really well. Instead of jumping straight into the mystery like recent episodes tend to, this one lets the characters explore and stumble upon it naturally. It's engaging and gives everything time to breathe, especially when we meet the woman who lost her son. That emotional hook really adds weight to the mystery as well. Mr. Ring-a-Ding is a fantastic villain, voiced superbly by Alan Cumming, and that jingle is going to be in my head for the rest of eternity, and the animation on him is really well done, finally making good use of the new Disney Plus money. The scene where the Doctor breaks the screen and encounters the fans may be a bit too much for some, but I don't mind when Doctor Who becomes meta every once in a while. For being able to tackle a lot within 45 minutes and not feel rushed or underdeveloped, Lux definitely makes its spot in the top 5 15th Doctor stories for me. Number 3. Boom. The Doctor can't move for a whole episode? Only a writer like Stephen Moffat can make this premise work. Coming through with a characteristically gripping and intelligent story, this is an anti-war commentary on corporate greed and late-stage capitalism, in the style of a Hitchcockian chamber piece. Going into this completely blind, I was absolutely thrilled as I gradually realised that this whole episode takes place in a single setting, as the Doctor is stuck on top of a landmine and desperately trying to navigate the situation through a series of interactions with a limited cast of characters. It all feels very theatrical, like a stage play, and the ticking time bomb element brings a constant state of suspense. But Stephen Moffat doesn't refrain from introducing a lot of twists and interesting ideas throughout the duration of the episode. The world building here is really great, as we are thrust into this bleak, dystopian battlefield that makes us feel like our characters are in real danger. Ncuti Gatwa's performance is what really carries the episode, and he knocks it out of the park as we see him going through all sorts of emotions while trying to retain his composure. The scene where Ruby is shot, which happens in a very unexpected and somewhat darkly comedic way that is perfectly set up but also quite shocking. Seeing the Doctor try to and succeed in keeping his cool after seeing his best friend possibly die in front of him is a pretty cruel and undignified manner, simply because he knows that his reaction might even put more people in danger, and it's a chilling reminder of just how alien the Doctor can be. He harbours deep feelings for his companions, but in a desperate situation like this, he is able to take hold of his emotions and approach the situation with a cold rationality, and there is something disturbingly inhuman about that. Despite falling victim to some of his usual shortcomings, this episode is a great return to form for an all-time great Doctor Who writer like Stephen Moffat. Number 2. The Well. The Well is an atmospheric horror story with a very strong emotional core. It's exactly what this season needed, and it delivers something that was missing from the horror episodes of the previous season. It's genuinely scary, and it gives you a reason to care about the characters. Everything about the episode is well handled. Director Amanda Brocchi is such a skilled and experienced director, and brings so much value to this story, recognising the need for subtlety and quiet in Act 1, and the possibility to go huge and brutal in Act 2, and showing a restraint in Act 3 that is uncommon in Doctor Who, but so needed in this story. She draws the themes from Sharma Angel Wolfball's story perfectly, setting up the parallels between Belinda and Alice without overstating them, ensuring there are a few personalities coming through in the soldiers so that Act 2 matters, and bringing an efficiency to the set pieces that modern Doctor Who sometimes lacks. There isn't a wasted scene in this episode. The contributions to the art plot are presented, but don't interfere or slow the action down the way they did last season, and the subtle telegraphing of the climax is perfect. Rose Ayling-Ellis is a great actor, and she proves it once again here, delivering a heartbreaking performance of Alice's fear and need to get home. It's easy to believe her because her physical performance carries through so strongly. Varada Sefu continues to excel, delivering the emotion when Belinda and the Doctor are alone, discussing Earth and humanity, but giving us a mature nurse's professionalism as soon as events call for it. The interactions between them are great as well. There is a simplicity and economy to the script in their scenes, and it manages some world building without resorting to bulk upon bulk of exposition. Every line adds to the story. Ncuti Gatwa also has a great showing in this episode as well. His intense reactions aren't squandered, but expertly used to sell the threat. It's beautiful to see the Doctor signing so fluently with Alice, and the signing of Calm Down and Trust Me meant only for her is particularly special. Easily one of the 15th Doctor's best stories if you ask me. But there is one other story that takes the top spot, and that is number 1. The Story and the Engine. With all the bombastic, camp callbacks to the past that inhabit this era, it's so refreshing to get a humble, small-scale story that may very well be my favourite of the entire RTD2 era. The key emotional beat of this story is the Doctor returning to a place he feels at home due to his new black body, as he calls it. The episode feels like the antithesis to Dot and Bubble, with the Doctor responding to Find Time by finding a community who, like him, look after one another no matter what. Pushing that further, they also look like him in this current state as well. The Doctor is always looking out for other people. This is his opportunity to be treated as their own to rest. So when the Doctor is put in the barber chair screaming, "Let me go," it does make sense in this context, as this is his place of rest and sanctuary. He wants to be looked after here, not the other way round. The evil barber is mysterious, creepy, and beautifully acted. Consumed by revenge to use his creativity to destroy rather than to build, the story of him being forgiven and learning to create again rather than destroy is very relevant, I feel. The episode is both pro-religion and pro-forgiveness. Neither of these is a bad thing. In fact, it shows the best and worst sides of humanity and the tools that are used to be for good. But we humans, or in this case the evil barber, can use them in destructive ways, like revenge. Arion Bakar does a great job as our villain. He is equal parts threatening and evil, but one can't help but sympathise with his act of rebellion against the gods, which can comfortably be interpreted as a great metaphor for black creators, who feel robbed when their stories are taken from them and appropriated by the cultures of their oppressors. In the episode's powerful climax, the Doctor doesn't just grant him forgiveness, but tries to set him on a new path to self-fulfillment. What would the essence of your life be? I want you to live long enough to write it. Don't let this be how your story ends. If this episode proves anything, it's that new writers can have a better understanding of who the Doctor is, as much as the old veterans as well. I am so glad that this episode got made, and whatever happens to Doctor in the future, I do hope we get more stories like this. It's proof that you can set Doctor Who in one single room on a small budget and still make it work. And that's all from me. Well, we've come a long way since the first Doctor video. I'll see you next time for more videos, and hopefully I don't have to do a ranking video like this anytime in the future. But who knows what happens next for Doctor Who. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.